Listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Now, it's Coast View with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast View, the show that celebrates every single day the people who make coastal Mississippi, and really Mississippi for that matter, such an amazing place to live, work, and play. Hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday, and thank you for joining us in growing numbers. We're just thrilled with the numbers on the radio side, and of course in social media and podcasts. People continue to come to the show because they want a dose of positive. I mean, this show, we're going to tackle a tough issue from time to time, but the bottom line is we don't want this show to be about politics. We want it to be about celebrating the kind of efforts, the kind of people that it takes to build a better community. And we're just so fortunate to live in this collection of incredible communities here in coastal Mississippi, and to be part of a state like Mississippi that has so much to offer from blues music to, enjoying some of the most beautiful drives in the world. In fact, speaking of beautiful drives, I was at my place in the Mississippi Delta this past weekend, and it's a beautiful time to be in the Delta because they're starting to do some harvesting. The soybeans are at least harvesting the corn. The soybeans and the cotton are so green. It's just a beautiful time to be there. I did actually, while I was there, I had a couple of troubling conversations with some friends who live in the Delta, and it was about COVID. And, essentially they were explaining to me why they weren't going to get the vaccine. And unfortunately, so much of what they had to say involved misinformation. And, I think people are going to make their own decision about the vaccine, but I think the most important thing I can do, to the extent that I can make a difference at all, is just make sure people have the best information. But there's so much misinformation on the internet and on Facebook, and people are acting on that. And as a result of it, a lot of people are ending up in the hospital. So we're hitting record numbers. And the reality is, Dr. Dobbs said today that, this thing may not peak for a couple more months. If we continue to see exponential growth of Delta over the next couple of months, I can't tell you how significant that's going to be for our hospitals. I just can't tell you. So we got to stay focused on getting people vaccinated. And I did my best with my friends. I'm not sure I turned them, but I was just struck by how passionate they were and how solidly focused they were on their decision. And some of their decision was based on false information. That's sad. That's the world we live in today, unfortunately. Hey, I talk all the time about coastal Mississippi is a very resilient community. We have been tested time and time again. Hurricane Katrina obviously being sort of the pinnacle moment, not that the pandemic hasn't challenged us greatly. But I talk about that a lot because in our DNA is this sense of taking care of your neighbor. And, when the going gets tough, people don't ask you what political party you're in. They just want to know what kind of help they can be for you. And our ability to bounce back, our ability to help our neighbors is really in our DNA. So I talk about George H.W. Bush all the time. What he had to say was so inspiring about the importance of volunteerism in a community. And if you go to Wikipedia, I just want to read to you kind of just one paragraph from Wikipedia about the 1,000 points of light that I talk about so often. Here's what it says. The term was used by George H.W. Bush in his speech accepting the presidential nomination at the 1988 Republican National Convention in New Orleans, Louisiana, by the way. Written for Bush by Peggy Noonan and Craig Smith, the address likened America's clubs and volunteer organizations to a brilliant diversity spread like stars, like 1,000 points of light in a broad and peaceful sky. Bush reprised the phrase near the end of his speech, affirming that he would keep America moving forward, always forward, for a better America, for an endless, enduring dream and 1,000 points of light. It takes 1,000 points of light, I believe, to drive a community like coastal Mississippi. You have so many nonprofits, we call them non-governmental organizations, that are working with government to find people that have needs. But at the end of the day, there's always going to be gaps. You may be putting a little bit too much water over there and not enough food over there. And you have volunteers that are coming to the forefront that fill these gaps. They are the 1,000 points of light. And we're so blessed here in coastal Mississippi to have so many of them. Today's guest is someone who knew George H.W. Bush personally. And He's one of the 1,000 points of light here in coastal Mississippi. So if you want to be inspired, today is the day to pay very close attention as we have a conversation with my friend Bob Sawyer, a longtime Gulfport native and someone I've known for a very, very long time. Bob, how you doing this morning?
Good, Rick. Nice to see you today, and I appreciate you reaching out to me.
Yeah, well, look, I've been looking forward to having a conversation with you for a long time. You're an Ole Miss graduate. You own Trinity Investments in downtown Gulfport. You're former chairman of the Mississippi Public Broadcasting. You're a board member there. But you spend an incredible amount of time. I'm so impressed, Bob, following you over all these years. The amount of energy that you put into volunteering in the emergency room at Memorial Hospital. I want to kind of break all that down for a second, but I mean, I've only scratched the surface to your contributions to coastal Mississippi. So we're going to get into your volunteerism. We're going to get into how did you get into the investment business, and then toward the end, I want to tell a few stories because you've been fishing with President Bush. You've had the opportunity to meet some really incredible people along your journey. And, man, there's a lot to talk about. I don't know if we can get it all in the short time we have together, but thank you for agreeing to join me today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. So fire away.
Well, so when you think about how I started the show, and if you listen regularly, you know that I talk about the 1,000 points of light all the time. But, you know, when Bush sort of challenged America to continue to, you know, even in political times, to work together to build a better America through volunteerism. When did you become so focused on, we'll come to the ER in just a second, but when did you become so focused that you want to give back in a volunteer role and make a difference?
Well, you know, I think I go back to when I got out of college, at Ole Miss and came home to work in the family business, real estate. And switched over, which we'll get into a little bit. But I was very active, and I got a call from my older brother, Lenny, when I got home from college. It was about 1979, and he said, hey, now you're here, you've got to get active on the coast and be involved. And he said, I got a call today from George Slogel. And George wants you to escort Miss USA around and shore the coast, and her chaperone that was with her. And he said, we're getting ready to have the pageant here. And so I spent about 4 years helping and being involved with the pageant. And my effective title, believe it or not, I was the swimsuit film coordinator. And jokingly, I used that term. But what I did is I did all the site locations. And we prepared everything that you saw that was viewed outside of the Coliseum. I helped put together, and it's funny that it turns out, it's ironic that years later I end up doing the same thing as an advance man for George H.W. Bush, Daddy Bush, and doing logistics and laying out the trip as an advance person. So all those came together, and I just want to add one thing that made me think about this. When I got involved as a teenager in the Young Republicans, now I'm talking 50 years ago or more, there was a guy by the name of who kind of latched on to me on the national level, but he was involved in the Nixon administration. His name was Greg Petersmeyer, and he ended up working for two presidents, and he ended up being involved as head of Colin Powell with him too, the Points of Life. So it's amazing and ironic how it all comes together.
It is, and you know, you think about it, because in the early days of Coast Vue, I had an opportunity to visit with Lenny and to hear about your family's incredible contributions to coastal Mississippi, being part of the history of Gulfport and really the coast, and the role that you guys have played in so many different ways. And then, of course, you mentioned George Slogel, opportunity to visit with George as well, to see how much it meant to him to have people who are willing to be leaders in the community and volunteer their time. Had your cousin Roy Anderson on, and same kind of story as well. You know, it's the dots connect in coastal Mississippi. We find our inspiration. It might be from family. It might be from a family's commitment. It could be from leaders in the community that reach out to us. So let's fast forward a little bit. How did you decide you wanted to do volunteerism at the hospital?
Well, a group of us met regularly before they closed at the Palace downtown for years, having coffee every morning before we went into the office. And there's a couple guys there who had been, one of them, Bill Magnuson, and retired highway patrolman. And we got to talk, and I said, the kids are grown, and it's my wife and I, the dog left, and I didn't have much hobbies at all. I'm not a golfer, and I used to fish, but haven't fished in a while. Had a Grady White at one time, about a 34-foot, before Katrina. And but I needed something to fulfill that ADD mentality of myself. And they started talking about how one of them was involved at the Memorial Hospital working in the emergency room. And I said, well, God, tell me more about it. Go ahead.
Let's do this, Bob. We'll pick up right there. Tell me more about the work in the emergency room from this group that you were meeting with on a regular basis. You're beginning to get inspired to go volunteer yourself, and it led to this long, incredible commitment. I don't know how many hundreds of hours, but we're going to come back to that when we get up. This is Bob Sawyer, a wonderful coast leader here in coastal Mississippi, and we're talking about volunteerism and some other cool things that have happened in his life. We'll be back after this break.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visits.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. Keep America moving forward, always forward, for a better America, for an endless, enduring dream, and 1,000 points of light. That was President George H.W. Bush in 1988. We had the pleasure this morning of talking with Bob Sawyer, who is a consummate, significant volunteer. You're about to understand why I say it so emphatically like that here in just a second. He's one of the 1,000 points of light that George H.W. Bush talked about, and he also knew President Bush personally. We're going to hear more about that here in just a second. But when we went to break, Bob, you were saying that you were around, you met regularly with some friends, and one of them started talking about volunteerism and the ER. So why don't you pick it up from there?
Sure. What I had to do, first they had to do a little background check on me, and the department that runs all that for Memorial, and checked me out, and we set up a schedule that I would work, okay with my work here that I'm doing. And it was pretty wide open because, you find a lot of people for whatever reason. And this was especially very true after COVID, was the fact that they're a little scared to work in the ER. And but you had to get acclimated to it. You had to know everything about it because there is no room for any type of special mistakes whatsoever on a volunteer that works in there. I mean, you gotta be right on and work with everybody and keep a happy smile on your face. The thing that I found when I first started was the RNs were really uncomfortable with me. I don't know why, because they're just incredible people, but they just are, they wanted to understand why somebody, I guess, who's a business person in the business world is doing this, not retired or what have you, because I think that's what they always had. So chocolate brownies take care of everything. So especially down from the quality bakery. So I became a big hit on that.
Well, see, but Bob, I can get this. Here's a guy who comes from a pretty, if you think about local history, a pretty famous family. You own your own investment company, Trinity Investments in downtown Gulfport. You're not retired. And now here you are volunteering an enormous amount of your time and energy in the ER. And I bet it did take them a while to adjust to that. They're like, I don't understand this. This is not your typical volunteer. I know the brownies were important, but you actually had to be quite patient for a period of time, didn't you?
You do, and there's things that you have to learn. There's certain, would surprise people. I don't know if you know, but there's actually about 56 rooms in the emergency room. And out of that, they're broken down into like trauma and then chest pain. And then you have Med 1 and Med 2, behavioral. And there's 3 rooms that you'll remember before you can bring anybody back, any family member, or do anything. It's number 1, 19, and 35. And those are very, very serious rooms. And if you have somebody in those, it's something that it's going to take a while. So I had to learn all these things. And it goes very fast. Mm-hmm. And what's amazing to me, too, is the staff, the nurses, believe it or not, they go in and they work from 7 to 7, and they have their 4-day or 3-day shift that they do, but they don't have a lunch break. There is no lunch break. I've never seen one of them. They'll go get a sandwich in the cafeteria or wherever and bring it to their desk, and before they take a bite, they're in another room or they're going to something else. So I have my hats off to these guys. They're just, including the doctors, they're just amazing. You're just amazing what we have. And,
hey, so Bob, tell me what's your normal volunteer schedule?
Well, like for instance, right now I'm on a Monday afternoon, but I'm not doing it right now because I let off when my daughter's pregnant. She's going to have a baby in Christmas, in December. So she hasn't, because of the pregnancy, did not do the shot. And I don't want to take the chance of bringing anything in or any possibility. So right after that. But my shift is normally at Monday at noon. And nobody comes in right now really till after me. So I usually go to 4 or 5. And then nobody really kind of wants to work weekends like that. So sometimes on weekends, if I'm bored or whatever, I'll just pick up a shift or two. And Sundays and, you can pretty well tell what's going on there. It's kind of clockwork. If it's a damn good sermon on Sunday, you're going to have a few people in there, believe me.
Well, look, you may not know this, but I went to the University of Alabama in Birmingham. I became a paramedic. I worked as a paramedic for Mobile Medic for a period of time and part-time for a while. When I changed, I was in pre-med. I eventually changed my major, went on to get an MBA and, did an internship at the Sun Herald, and the rest is history. But I got to see and appreciate what life for first responders, and I spent a lot of time in the emergency room for many years. And what's been interesting because of that perspective, I've been able to watch the evolution of Memorial, the evolution of Singing River Health Systems, and what is for first of all, I'll say this: we're extraordinarily lucky to have such a unbelievably professional and able healthcare system in coastal Mississippi. And you spend your time at Memorial, so we'll spend our time talking about Memorial. But I think this is because of the pandemic, it gives us a great opportunity to reflect about this team approach that they've developed at the hospital and how it's saving lives every single day. And I bet you see stuff. I know you, because I've been there. You see stuff that will break your heart. But at the same time, you see things, some situations that you would never have thought would turn out positive, that turn out miraculously positively, because so many dedicated people are focused on literally saving lives every single day. You say that from your perspective.
Well, one day, it was one of my first encounters when I started working there. One of the techs usually wear the red outfits and the nurses have blue. And they had a major call that was in front of the hospital. And some kids had dropped a young boy off, and believe it or not, he had been shot in the back. And he was laid out. He was dead. And one of the techs got there, and then before everybody else and the doctor, but she started doing compressions, and right on the chest compressions and working on him. Next thing I know, she's flying past me on top of the gurney, bringing it back to Trauma 1. And she was continually doing the compressions. That little boy lived, and there was 2 of them that actually were in the car that had a gun went off or what have you, the long story short, but they dropped him off, believe it or not. And thank God she was trained as a tech, because that's what they do. And I've watched, it was just the most amazing thing to see that child come back to life. Amazing.
Mm-hmm. I bet you've developed some really close, associations and friendships from your work, haven't you?
Well, I see a lot. What's amazing too is I've seen people that I haven't seen since elementary school, and they'll come in, and it's always good when people see somebody. Emergency room means something serious and something traumatic is going on in your life. And the first thing that's really good too, I think, and I've seen, is when you see a familiar face. And, you let them know everything's great. There's a good team, the good nurse that's going to be working with you. And my whole job is focus on the family. And when somebody's in, I make sure the family is in a certain area, and then we bring them back. And then I've been allowed to, because I want to do a little bit more, triage the patients over to where the RN is, which is not a big deal, but, you're kind of in the middle of what's happening and keeps you from getting bored. And there's so much, believe me, we need a lot of help there. I mean, there's so many areas the volunteers can work, from the gift shop to the areas where they do the blood work to surgical waiting. I mean, we're in need of everybody. It's about 140 volunteers. And believe it or not, I'm probably number 4 or 5 on the list of the youngest out of the list. So,
wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we really need people, and it's a great way to serve your community and be involved.
Well, Bob, this is Bob Sawyer. We're having a conversation with him. We're talking about volunteerism at Memorial Hospital, but in this part of the segment. We're going to move on and talk about other things shortly. But, Bob, you kind of went past that really quickly. So let me kind of come back to this. What you just said, though, is that you're dealing with families when they have, who knows? It runs the spectrum of possibilities in terms of why they might need the emergency room. But you've had to be with families in the worst of their moments, and maybe the worst moment ever, and maybe that will ever happen to them. And I understand the kind of emotional intelligence that is needed. Let me say it that way, and the kind of faith that is needed in those moments. But when we come back, Bob, I want to talk about that just a second and say, what gives you the strength to help people in those moments. And then we're going to shift gears. I want to hear about your investment company, and then we'll tell a few stories about your time working with President Bush. We'll be back with Bob Sawyer after this.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to supertalkmsgulfcoast.com.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visit.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard. And,
Wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show
on SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on Super Talk 103.1 FM.
Every single day here on Tuesday is not an exception. We talk about things and we talk to people about things that will motivate you and inspire you. And today, just hearing the kind of energy that Bob Sawyer from the famous Gulfport Sawyer family and has his own investment firm, Trinity Investments in downtown Gulfport. It's important to hear the stories of in his case, his volunteerism at Memorial Hospital, and to see these are the kind of people that we have in this community. These are one of the 1,000 points of light of people giving back to the community. Okay, so Bob, when we went to break, I was talking about the emotional intelligence that is required to do the job that you do, sort of this go-between between the medical team that's working on a family member and the family. Why don't you? How do you do that? What gives you the strength to do that?
It's God. I pray that God is with me and walks every step with me when I'm in there. It's when you have a situation where. And I think I've mentioned this before, but there's a certain sound, and you don't want to ever be there. It's the shriek of a mother who just lost a child, and that sound is horrifying. It'll live with you, and you're there. I was in a situation where a young man was killed, and his best friend, and of course the man's wife were there, and. I knew when I walked in the room and the physician had come in, I knew it was over. And but they're looking down, you'd see, their whole life from that point on is changed. And before they knew it, I knew it. And you worry and you pray for that person, and the best friend was so emotionally torn that he was literally on his knees in tears, and his 3 little boys came up and put their arms around their daddy's neck and cried with him. And this is just one instance of what you see or where you are and what you deal with when you're working there.
Well, God bless you for willing to do that, and all the others who volunteer their time at Memorial and other hospital institutions here along the coast of Mississippi. You're just one of those 1,000 points of light. Let's shift gears. Your Trinity Investments. Tell me about that.
Well, Trinity started with Susie and I a long time ago because I originally was with a couple of firms, Payne Weber and Howard Wheel. And I was traveling with the president at the time, and the president's first cousin, former U.S. ambassador to Hungary, was George Herbert Walker, Bert Walker. And I got to know Bert on the campaign trail and a lot of things, and he owned Stifel Nicholas at the time. And it was just a very, very small firm. I mean, it was based out of St. Louis, and he was very close to the president. They grew up together. The president, Bush, he worked for Bert's dad when Bert's dad was a congressman, and you know, so it all came together. And so he said, look, I want you to open a Stifel office for us, you and Susie, down on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And we said, heck yeah. And it was perfect for us, and we set up the office, and now Stifel is all over the world. I mean, it's a major player, major firm, but we're just we're with independent advisors now because of Katrina hit. You know, the original thought was we had set up an office down in Sarasota, Florida, because we had a home there for about 19 years in Longboat Key, and no, we said we can't leave our family and friends. This is our place, and so they switched us over to the independent side. And because everything, as you well know, you were highly involved with it, Rick, the coast was devastated. And, you know, for a long time, we worked, Susie and I ran our business out of a trailer right downtown Gulfport with our family. And, of course, she had the little office with a heart tub, but, you know, we all got to understand all about that. So that's how I brought that in, and we started working together with it. And, you know, I've been in this, started with a family business after college, but not everybody wants to go back and work on the farm. And I love current events. I love that. And that's what the stock market's about. It's current events. And that's how I got involved in it. And so we have about 400 or 500 households we work with, and we've got about 225, almost $250 million we manage. So, you know, we got a great little business. My daughter's with us now. She's a practicing attorney and working with us, and we're real excited about it.
Wow, that's awesome. It's good to hear, you know, a Coast guy do well and find his way to make his mark, and certainly you've done that. You know, gosh, man, there's got to be so many stories. You talked about working, how you came to be a member of the White House advance team. It turned into a multi-year gig. You got to travel all over the world with President Bush. When you look back, I mean, do you still kind of have to pinch yourself to say that actually happened?
You know, it started really when we were young Republicans, a lot of us. I was with Wicker, and there was Lanny Griffith and all of us. And believe it or not, we used to go up and down the state of Mississippi. And with Carl Rove, Rove had this damn Vega car. It was called a Vega back then. And we did a lot of campaigns. I had a room that I shared of his in 76 in D.C. And, you know, all these people, a lot of them, I knew Stone real well, Roger. And we knew, you know, believe it or not, Stone and Rove don't have a college degree. They worked campaigns. They never finished, you know. That's how these people were, you know. And I was on the road doing campaigns and should have finished in 77, went on in 79. But, you know, the political side was more important to me at that time. And that's what we did all during Mississippi, doing Gil Carmichael's campaign, Leon Bramlett's campaign, you know, straight on up. And but it was a lot of fun. And then I ran into friends that had worked and continue to work, and that's how I was asked to be a volunteer like I am now. And I was a volunteer with the Bush campaign and the Bush when he was president. And the RNC paid, of course, my expenses, but I traveled and, you know, I was in South America, Canada. I did the All-Star game. I had at the All-Star game, the president had Ted Williams and Joe DiMaggio with us. And they gave me a signed baseball. and I have it to this day. I can't believe it. But one of the advanced people had asked DiMaggio, we have a suite in here the president has. It's food, it's everything. And he said, young lady, he said, I'd like a hot dog with just mustard. Would you go get it for me? Boy, she did. Gave him 2. In fact, got him 2 of them. And, he knows how to handle a good baseball game. And Ted Williams was a lot of fun, too. Amazing.
When George H.W. Bush was vice president, he came to the coast. I must have been during the campaign. I don't remember the exact situation. But I was at the Sun Herald and had an opportunity to go over. And I met him, and I met his wife, Barbara. And what I recall about it was, first of all, I was starstruck. But at the same time, I was thinking how nice they were and how much they treated me like they had known me forever. And that just made a lasting impression. Then fast forward to Hurricane Katrina, working so closely with Haley Barbour on the recovery efforts and getting the opportunity to meet with his son, President Bush, on a number of occasions, and remembering how nice he was and how thoughtful he was and how much he treated you like. He remembered my name, Bob. That was one of the things that struck me about him. But this family was just an incredible family, weren't they?
Incredible. And it's amazing, even going back to Burt Walker, how close he was with him, and he hired me. He was a very devout Christian man, President Bush, even young George. And but the one that I admired, and it was crazy, it was Barbara. I mean, on fishing trips, I'd have to pack up and go around New Year's. Susie knew I was heading out. And on a trip, when you're going out, you'd go a week, and then for overseas, it was 2 weeks to set it up ahead of time. But she loved to go fishing, and she was so delightful, and just she made everybody feel at ease. Just amazing, great family. I mean, from to all of them. And
it's curious though about these opportunities to sort of rub shoulders in that sort of way. But what kind of thoughts come to mind? Does it come to mind that they're people just like us? They stepped up to the plate, and what I'm getting to observe is someone in their most significant leadership moment. How do you reflect on it? What you were observing?
I kind of was awestruck about what was around me. The big thing about, I guess it's kind of like working in the ER too. Or when we're kids, you're to be seen and not heard, and that's the way you did when you work with the Bush. I mean, you're not going to walk up and pat him on the back. You're not going to get close. But what was even more interesting to me is be sitting with a Secret Service agent that actually had the football, or the military aide who had the football, and he had it handcuffed to his hand. And you looked at that thing and you knew right then that piece of material, that nylon little, with an antenna coming out of the top, that nylon briefcase could end it all.
Woo, man, that is sobering, for sure. Hey, this is Bob Sawyer. When we come back, we're going to continue some stories of his time with President Bush. We'll see you after this break.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on AllenToyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi.
It just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Dale Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera slips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
I often say on Coast View that if you want to get something done, you got to find a busy person to do it. Every single good leader I know, the people who commit their time to a community, they are busy people. They're CEOs. They're leading divisions of companies. And in Bob Sawyer's case, he's got his own investment firm, Trinity Investments in downtown Gulfport. But man, you want to get something done, find a busy person to do it. They know how to sort of manage their time. Bob, as we were reflecting, you said, okay, so when you did a White House advance team effort, a White House advance team, for people who don't know what that is, if the president's going to go to Cleveland, then there's an advance team that goes to Cleveland ahead of them to get prepared, and there's a lot of work that has to be done. So if a president goes out on the road and makes multiple stops, there are going to be multiple advance teams out there to do the thing. In addition to that, when they go off to say Europe or to wherever they're going to go, a team has to go there as well. And Bob, you mentioned that when you did an international event, it took 2 weeks of your time. When you traveled, really around the world, what city outside the United States really stuck out to you as something that was just a special occasion for you?
Well, Caracas was amazing, down in South America, the poverty, being able to see all of that. I wish there are things that I know now as a part of being involved in Catholicism, the Catholic Church, that I wish I had spent more time in Caracas, in that area, looking at things. Also, when you mentioned Cleveland, I did I'm not kidding you, probably 6 or 7 trips to Cleveland. And it was basically, there was a big voting block there. And, but I remember one time, and I think it was Cleveland, or it was Columbus, but I had to call these people. I had a list the president wanted me to call. And so I called Art Modell. He owned the Cleveland Browns at the time. And I said, the president wanted me to let you know he'll be coming to town. And Art Modell, Mr. Modell said, look, anything you need, I have a club next door, and I'm going to give you the number, and that's my charge account, have your dinner, whatever. And then I was a volunteer, so it didn't make a damn. I mean, that things like that helped us out, and we were very appreciative. But there's, a lot of that. You look back on these people, and talking about advance, I was approached to do, politics is a young man's game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. These are for young people. And the older we get, you don't see a lot of us. I mean, they talked to me about going with when Trump first started running, and I knew that Stone was running everything. Roger was running everything behind the scenes. No ifs or ands. I'm just telling you he was. He's a genius, and so is Rove. But I was convinced when I saw, and I texted Tate Reeves, and I said to him, he's got 14,000 people set up to come to the Mississippi Coast Coliseum. You better get down there. I never heard from him. But in a nice way, I'll say this, that I was asked about the Vance. I said, hell no. I'm not going to have him yell at me or what have you. And a really good friend who ran his advance and all, because of an event, got fired. And I would never. I'm not going to. At this point in my life, I'll stick to Memorial Hospital, the emergency room, and other things that I'm happy with.
One of the you grew up fishing. You mentioned that, and so did I. I love fishing. I mean, my fishing room is my studio here. I was always so impressed how Daddy Bush, President H.W. Bush, how he was almost like a child when he got around the water and wanted to fish. And you saw that, didn't you?
God, I did. I mean, and especially with Ray Scott bass fishing in Alabama, every New Year he spent with Ray Scott. And so I put about 4 or 5 different New Years that I was going to be there. And it wasn't very far from here. It was just south of Montgomery. I mean, it was 20 miles south of Montgomery, and so he'd land in the Air Force Base there in Montgomery, and it was a great, ride, a little short motorcade to that facility, and where he fished, and we had all the bass masters there, and man, let me tell you, when he got out there, he had a great time, and President always had one of the top bass guys fishing with him. Ray arranged that, and he loved it. He loved it. In fact, I had Ray Scott before he got there. We were doing the advance, and Ray took me out. We fished, and I pulled in a bass, and he said, Bob, grab the damn fish with your thumb in the mouth. And he said, don't be a sissy. And I'll never forget that. It was a big old mouth bass. And I said, how can you, I'm doing this for free. I'm not getting paid for any of this. But how can you beat what I'm doing?
It's so
God is good. God's good.
What an opportunity, man, to sort of rub shoulders, cross paths with someone who's such an important historical figure. And, the inspiration, I mean, obviously I've studied him greatly, but his inspiration through his 1,000 points of light statements and how he believed volunteerism in America was going to be the difference. Certainly it's been the difference here in coastal Mississippi. Bob, we're out of time, but man, let me tell you this. It's been a genuine pleasure to catch up with you, to hear your story. And let me thank you on behalf of all of coastal Mississippi for being willing to step up to the plate the way you've been able to step up for hundreds of hours to be a volunteer and to lead by example. And we really appreciate that, my friend.
Thank you, Rick. It was great being with you. And we need a lot of volunteers at Memorial, so make the call.
You bet. Absolutely. We'll talk more about that going forward in the future as well. This has been Bob Sawyer, and it's been a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.